all these men are going to Turkey to get hair transplants. Why does Turkey have so many hair transplants? I talked to a doctor who does this at the highest levels.
I got to shout out Dr. Anderson over at Anderson Hair Institute in Georgia. I got to shout out my guy.
I'm Dr. Ken Anderson, medical director of Anderson Center for Hair in Atlanta.
I learned about the tech that changed the industry and the policy that has changed the economics of medicine. This is our techno-geopolitical follicular future.
Here's our guy, PJ.
I wanted to make a main character to go on this hair transplant journey.
He's young, he's 25, everything's ahead of him.
Check, check, check. Yes? Look at me, I'm using a microphone. It's like TikTok or something. And I also tried to see if I could get my own Turkish hair transplant. I want to recreate the conversation that I had because I had truly got in touch with one of these agencies. And I want to walk you through how it happened. I really had two things to figure out here. What is a hair transplant and why are so many people going to Turkey to get them?
So Ken Anderson has been doing this for a while, and I like talking to him because his career kind of overlaps with some of the changes that have gone on in the hair transplant industry.
I went to the worldwide meeting of the International Society of Hair Restoration Surgery in 2003 and was just blown away by the complexity of the subject, and there's a lot more to it than I thought. Right around then was one of the biggest changes in the specialty in that it went from the results that look like doll's hair, like pluggy hair, to what's called the follicular unit transplant, just one follicle or hair by hair at a time transplant, making the results absolutely natural and impossible to detect.
I'm actually taking a quick break to go get some gas. So the free Upside app lets you get cash back on stuff you were already gonna do. Like go get gas or go get groceries or go out to eat. Okay, let me show you, I'll screen grab it. So it's really easy. You just open up the app, you look for restaurants, you look for groceries. It is super easy to use, and that is really important to me. That's why I use it. All you have to do to claim it, you use your normal credit card that you use anywhere, you tap that you're gonna use it, and then you're pretty much signed up to get your cash back. Easy as that. And that's it. We're done. Upside has given back over $1 billion to its users, so if you want to find out how much you can earn, go ahead and download the free Upside app right now. Use promo code PhilEdwards to get 25 cents off every gallon on your first tank of gas. This video is coming right after the holidays, so I've now used Upside in random road trip locations or just in my daily life around town, and it's worked great in both. So look for the link, QR code, description, comment, use that promo code PhilEdwards to get that deal of 25 cents off every gallon on your first tank of gas. And thank you to Upside for sponsoring this video. They made this possible. So let's get back to it.
So if I could just kind of use you as my narrator of this change, what is the difference there? Why does it look so different?
Some hairs are sensitive to the hormones that cause hair loss, and some hairs are not. And if we take a man, for example, typically that horseshoe of hairs around the back and sides of the scalp.
Right, like the George from Seinfeld zone.
Those hairs are in the permanent zone, are resistant to the hormones that cause hair loss. And it was proven a long time ago by Dr. Norman Orentreich in the 1950s that you can take hair from the permanent zone and move it to the area of impermanence, or the areas of need where the hair loss has occurred, and it will continue to grow as if it were still sitting in the permanent zone. Like the hairs don't know they've been moved.
PJ's putting on a little bit of weight, just a little. PJ may have a crippling addiction to candy. He's grown a little compensatory mustache. PJ's in denial, for sure. He can take these really dense patches of hair like here and here and actually move them up. And so that's why you see this shape of red when you see Turkish hairlines patients coming home.
From basically 2000 forward, all transplants basically were one follicle at a time. Then the focus became, I mean, in all of cosmetic surgery and all of surgery, really, there's a big trend towards less and less invasiveness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It has a lot of advantages. And so with the linear strip excision, which a thin strip of scalp through the permanent zone, that scalp is removed. That
Gotcha.
strip then is then processed under the microscope, separating out all the follicles. But that leaves a linear scar, a horizontal linear scar in a very telltale position.
Yes. Right.
And a lot of guys don't want that.
Right.
A lot of people don't want that because it's a telltale sign that a hair transplant has occurred. It limits the how short a haircut can be.
Yeah.
And so FUE is FUE, which is the more popular method now.
Yeah.
It's called Follicular Unit Excision. And this is where essentially a small instrument, I use a 1 millimeter circular or 0.9 millimeter hollow drill bit, to put it in very basic terms, to core out one follicle at a time from the donor area, or without creating any linear scarring. There's no stitches. And so after the hair grows in and after everything's healed up, there is no linear scar there.
I want to point out that this actually lines up with some of the reports from the International Society of Hair Restoration Surgery. They said that FUE was about here. And now in 2025, look at how many people are getting FUE. It is the major thing.
Did this change the type of people who were doing the work to some degree?
Absolutely. In order to be licensed and able for a surgeon to do a tonsillectomy, they're going to need a number of things. They're going to need a medical degree, a medical license, residency training, a board certificate, and hospital privileges. And the residency training for ear, nose, and throat surgery is typically 5 to 6 years long. And the reason for that is because if you don't do it correctly, the child could get seriously hurt or worse.
Right.
With hair restoration surgery, it's the opposite. In order for a provider to offer hair restoration surgery, they need to go to medical school and then get a medical license, which typically is a medical license takes typically 1 year after medical school in anything, internal medicine. When it was all FUT surgery, the strip surgery, that requires actual surgical judgments, training, and skill. And so, at the time, there weren't that many providers because it was actual surgeons doing the work. With the advent of the FUE devices, the follicular unit, basically the little drills that core out one follicle at a time, that's not technically complex.
So listen to his description of the licensing involved and see how cutthroat it is. And then imagine how that could extend to competition with Turkey.
You don't have to have a lot of surgery training or judgment to perform that. And so the market was inundated with doctors with no surgical training starting to offer that procedure.
All of these technological trends perfectly intersected with Turkey and the internet.
So I found Now Hair Time on Instagram. It's a really big 5.1 million followers Turkish transplant agency. All these men are very large. I wish them the best in their journey. I really do. Distinctive post-op look. He looks very pleased with himself. Here's a beard transplant, which is something they also do. I go to nowhairtime.com and I give them my name, my email, my country, and my phone number. And the next thing I knew, I was being contacted on WhatsApp. And so he immediately asks me what I'm interested in, hair or beard transplant. I tell him, hair! Exclamation. And then he gives me an idea of what kind of pictures I need to send over, along with some basic questions. One of those questions that I want you to note here, do you use minoxidil or finasteride? Now, these, of course, are the hair growth drugs. And Dr. Anderson told me that he would consult with patients and often recommend that they give those a try before they get a transplant, or in lieu of a transplant, or in combination with one. So I answered all the questions and told him I had no minoxidil or finasteride. And then I sent over the pictures. I didn't want to mislead anybody about anything, so I just kind of pulled my hair back and, showed him how it was. I mean, I was feeling pretty good about myself after sending these pictures. There's definitely a bit of a receding hairline here, but I don't know,
I'm just feeling pretty good about myself, looking at the back of my head here. Honestly, next time I'm feeling down about things, I'm just gonna look at the back of my head. And so then he says, can you send a picture of the top above of your head so that we can see the whole scalp? And so then I took a picture of the top of my head, just like that. And also feeling pretty good about myself. I mean, it's as white as Santa's beard, but it is full, like Santa's beard. I don't know why Santa's beard is the operative analogy here. And then he said, okay, thank you for all the information you've provided. I will now send your information to our specialist for analysis. I will get back to you when I get the analysis result. I said, thank you. The mystery was, why did Turkey want to get their hands on my follicles so badly? So maybe you're saying to yourself, bro, we're 11 minutes in. Why have we not been talking about Turkey yet? We are going to talk about it, but I really think that you have to understand all that hair transplant stuff before you can understand why Turkey was able to take such a big slice of the market. I want to piece this together through a literature review and through the eyes of PJ.
It's from our destination of Istanbul, Turkey.
Let's look at this chart from the USHAS, which is the medical tourism agency that is in charge of bringing people into Turkey. You can see right here, there's been huge growth after COVID, and also huge growth since just 2015. The reason that PJ wants to come to Turkey is the cost. If you want to get a heart bypass in the United States, it's $123,000. In Turkey, it's $13,900. But down here with a hair transplant, you might be looking at like $20,000, $25,000 in the United States, but in Turkey, you can start off at $2,000. Apparently I need 2,500 to 3,000 grafts. They're gonna use the FUE method, which is the hole punch method that is pretty much the main option these days. And he sent me the packages. The packages range from the basic package for $3,500. And then there's the gold package where I get all that. And then I also get 4 nights of accommodation at a 5-star hotel and a tour of Istanbul. But why is that cost so much lower? And why is Turkey so desperate to get PJ on the plane? In the early 2000s, remember, around the same time that FUE is starting to become a thing, the AK party took over in Turkey. So in 2011, the AK party pledged to promote health tourism, including medical tourism, for the first time during its general election campaign in 2011. It framed health tourism as part of its economic development strategy. Now, that party has a very complicated history, but like any political party, they have to promote certain types of economic development. And over the next 10 years, they land on medical tourism as being an important driver of wealth. Okay, so this paper is Why Medical Tourists Choose Turkey as a Medical Tourism Destination. This is something that should have been obvious to me, but Turkey is part of a medical ecosystem. Turkey is right here in the middle, so it's accessible to the Middle East, but also to the US, all these different areas. And so the Turkish government supports this medical tourism industry in a bunch of different ways. They build legit hospitals. Something crazy is that hair transplants, which is the focus of this video, the thing that I was thinking about, are only 2% of all the different surgical procedures. But remember, we know now that hair transplants, technically speaking, are kind of getting easier. They're able to kind of hole punch and do that without needing a lot of surgical skills, because minimally invasive procedures in the United States have gone up a lot since 2005.
I mean, there are some very good doctors in Turkey. I know them personally. And I see them at the international meetings of the ISHRS. I see them at other international hair meetings. They are excellent. But there is a whole industry in Turkey. The cost of everything is lower in Turkey, right? The cost of labor, rent, insurance, all of it. And so I have seen evidence of, and I've talked to patients, the doctor draws the hairline on, and that's the last they see of the doctor. And then they're handed off to the technicians. The patient asked the technicians, well, what about the doctor? And the technicians just said, he's the architect, we're the builders.
So the hair transplants are able to kind of piggyback off a bunch of subsidies that are being given to the medical tourism industry more broadly. The Turkish government is also reimbursing significant amounts for Turkish airline flights for medical tourism, like 50%, and they are reimbursing for advertising to draw medical tourists in. So, for example, the hair transplant provider pays Now Hair Time to recruit me or PJ as a customer, right? But they are going to get reimbursed up to 60% of the cost for that. This sits on some bigger trends. I found this review of the new era of marketing in plastic surgery, and I caught up with one of the authors on the phone.
Out of every country in the world, Turkey actually has the most social media related to medical procedures.
In a world in which social media marketing is increasingly important, this is kind of a cheat code, a 60% coupon off. That lets them compete overseas with a lot of different people. And then when they leave, they don't really have to worry about accountability. If they designed the hairline wrong, which is something that Dr. Anderson talked about, it's not really their problem. And if there's a post-operative complication, that's not really their problem either.
Will this restore my confidence and sense of self? And he replied, if you are affected by the hair loss you have, this can help you.
So why did I make this video? The truth is, I find the collision of geopolitics and technology and these deep psychic wounds that drive PJ to get his hair transplant fascinating. However, I want to give you one stronger take, which is that optional medical care, consider keeping it local. I do think it's probably better for patients, for accountability, and also for consultations and results. People like PJ should consider if it's really a good idea to go all the way to Turkey to get this surgery. I think it is a case of being penny wise but pound foolish. This paper is really shocking. It is about some of the disasters that happened when people went abroad for different surgeries. And saving money was the biggest reason amongst this group of people being surveyed. So many of them had an interview only, which shows kind of the dangers of this system. Some of the pictures in this paper of failed surgeries are horrifying. Instagram doesn't care about what happens to PJ, but maybe we should.
And now we are making our approach to Istanbul.
Hey, that is it for this one. I am just about to record the Patreon reaction video, but I just wanted to touch base, say thank you for watching. I also wanted to clear up, this is such a sketchy space, but I just wanted to let you know that, I don't have a financial relationship to anybody in this video, except for the sponsor, which is why there's that blue bar running across the bottom of the screen. So yeah, little disclosure there. Also, I asked Dr. Ken if he had a financial relationship to John Cena because of that endorsement, and he told me this.
No, of course I couldn't afford to pay John Cena.
So yeah, thank you for watching. I'm also about to write the newsletter article that gets into something that I couldn't get into in the video. It is free to read on Patreon. There's 5,000 people now, which is pretty awesome, who get that free newsletter. And this week it's going to be about Brazilian butt lifts. Why are they Brazilian? So I found the original paper where the procedure is described, and yeah, I'm going to tell the story. So yeah, hopefully you'll follow me along there. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about this issue, what you think I might have missed, if you disagree, agree, and what you think about it more broadly as a trend. And yeah, thank you for watching. All right, see you in the next one.